It's not often that a movie can be described as marking the end of an era. The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter series both achieved that level of importance, with their final films leaving audiences with a distinct feeling of reverence for all that had occurred. And then they made prequels and stuff, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Logan. I'm going to try and keep it spoiler-free. Logan is the third and final instalment in the Wolverine series of films, an offshoot of the main X-Men universe, which itself is a live-action adaptation of the comic books of the same name. Logan finds us in the near future with an older, more vulnerable Wolverine and an elderly amnesiac Professor X, as they both try to survive not only the ravages of time and the hot Mexico sun, but also each other. And to be honest, that's really all you need to know about this movie. Yes, they take in a young mutant called Laura, and they have to try and get her to safety while a Black Ops special unit tries to track them down, but that's all secondary. The second node of the X-Men franchise has always been the relationship between Professor X and Wolverine, and it is that relationship that forms the emotional heart of at least the first half of Logan. And it really does have a deep core of emotion, this film, to the point where, when the fight scenes actually do occur, they feel almost jarring. Fighting. Jarring in a superhero film. Part of what makes that violence so jarring is just how violent it is. Buoyed by the success of the ultra-bloody Deadpool, Fox greenlit Logan in all of its R-rated glory. And the result is probably the most intense, realistic fighting that's been seen in a Marvel movie. Sure, Deadpool was violent, but the violence was always, a gag or a lead-up to a punchline. Logan is a much more serious film, so when Wolverine's claws go straight through a man's skull, as they do several times to several different men, it's not funny, it's serious, it's visceral, it's real. You squirm in your seat, everything clenches, it's almost not enjoyable. Which is a strange thing to say about watching a man get his brain kebabbed. It's not all rosy in Loganland, though. The pacing suffers a slump midway through the third act, which, while it does contain some important character development between Laura and Wolverine, it did leave me uninvolved enough to almost check the time on my watch. And despite having three antagonists, Logan suffers the same problem as so many other superhero flicks. An unremarkable villain. Only one really carries any weight at all, and that's only because of what he represents to Wolverine. Also, in the first half hour, there's a sense that the writers were enjoying the fact that they were allowed to make an R-rated film a bit too much. Profanities abound, almost pulling me out of the movie to the point where I was back outside the cinema. But that's all nitpicking, to be honest. The main point is, if you enjoy emotion and violence, but you don't know anything about the X-Men universe, you'll still enjoy this movie. Just maybe take a more experienced friend so they can explain some of the more comic bookish elements to you. But if you've taken the time, you've watched the films, you've become invested in these characters and the universe that they live in, you will adore this film, you will love it. And there's very little chance that you'll walk out of the theatre with dry eyes and a steady heartbeat. And to link back to the start of this video in a clever, writery way, the reason Logan is significant is because it marks the last time that Hugh Jackman or Patrick Stewart will play Wolverine and Professor X. For 17 years, since the first X-Men film in 2000, they have become two of the most beloved superhero characters in movie history, so it only seems fair that their final outing is one that focuses less on what they can do, but what they mean to each other. It's not the end of the X-Men franchise, but it is the end of an era.